Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, the first episode of the week. The market might not be cooperating, but at the very least, the new Market Check intro certainly is. We hope you guys enjoy it. But we're going to have a great show for you guys today. I think we have Jackson Hole this week, FOMC minutes, but this one, as always, tends to have a little bit more importance as far as directionality on a multi-week basis. So, will this time be different for Powell? Will this meeting matter? We're going to talk about it on today's show. We're going to talk about what that means for the coins, for U.S. equities, and everything else in between. But I'm Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy, joined by Chef Jackus, Big Louie, and of course, Max. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully we've had a great weekend. We're dumping this morning, right? Bitcoin kind of sliding. I mean, it was really like at weekly open, Bitcoin immediately took a dump by a few K. We're kind of trading into the swing low from, a little less than 2 weeks ago. I tend to think that as long as Bitcoin is, staying above 112K, we're going to be looking for a continuation higher. But again, we're going to talk about what that means, going forward on this show. And obviously, what would happen if Bitcoin loses that low potentially as well. But before we can do that, guys, before we can get into the heart of the show, the meat of the content, I'm going to ask if you guys can slam that like button for us. We're always very, very appreciative when you do that. And you help us keep the lights on here at BB and continue to bring you these market check shows throughout the week. So hit the like button for us. We'll do our best to cook you guys up some Monday Alpha. I always say Monday shows are the best because we've kind of just been simmering on the charts basically all weekend. But truthfully, this weekend, or rather like this week kind of kicked off with a dump. So we kind of have like this new information, right? Is this just, what we typically see out of bull markets is a Monday, Tuesday dump. And then we see a bullish reversal throughout the week, especially given, that you have Jerome Powell potentially speaking later this week about rate cuts. Will we get them? Will we not get them? Does it matter? We'll probably discuss that on today's show. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you do kind of see this typical behavior from bull markets, but I also do want to preface that by saying, something that we've seen over the last 2 occasions when Jerome Powell was speaking. I remember, coming into those weeks with a very bullish posture, and we de-risked into Powell, expecting to get a reversal out of Powell, and then Powell was a turn in the punch bowl. So I don't really think it matters as much what Jerome Powell says as much as how he says it. And as we know, his relationship with Donald Trump is a little bit strained at the moment. So we'll see how that plays out through the rest of the week. I will say, I mean, we saw how the job data, or was it PPI, CPI? I genuinely can't even remember, came out after Powell explicitly said, yeah, we haven't seen economic data deteriorating. And then he looked really bad like 2 days later. So are we going to see a shift in posture from Powell? More signaling of rate cuts? I know how much we all love to talk about macro on our Monday mornings, especially if you're coming off a great weekend. But let's be honest, it's probably what is going to be driving price action this week. But I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about the market here. Getting a little bit of a lower time frame bounce back on BTC. I'm kind of looking for like 117K, and then we'll make a decision maybe on like Tuesday or Wednesday. But yeah, how are we making sense of the current price action so far? Do we have any thoughts on what to expect throughout this week on any asset in particular, guys?
Good morning, guys. Actually, there is no reason to say good morning because it certainly is not one. It's never been more over than it currently is. I don't know. I mean, every day, wake up, check price, mediocre price, not even bad price, just like mediocre. It's like, I don't really even like we're in like this super low vol bullshit environment where nothing's happening, but it feels like everything is happening. And it's super boring. Days roll into weeks, weeks roll into months, months roll into quarters, and you're just like, wow, where did the time go? the Chud Jacks win, man. Nothing ever happens. But I don't know. When you zoom out and you look structurally at what we're trying to build here, it feels like we're getting ready to ramp high time frame, but low time frame is just exhausting, man. Just absolutely exhausting. I guess locally, my thoughts are the following. I don't think that Bitcoin is in the driver's seat anymore. I think that there's been a very clear shift into ETH being in the driver's seat, but it does require Bitcoin to cooperate. My big concern with Bitcoin here is that it seems like it wants like 110. But then when you go on CT and you see like 9 out of 10 CT bros calling for 110, it feels like a little bit of a crowded idea. So, I mean, putting aside the obvious incentives for me personally in my own positioning, I'd love to see him just find support around 115 and then just send it straight back up, because I think it would, in a bull market, when you don't get that super obvious technical pullback or inefficiency fill, people are then forced to chase higher. And that's when things can really ignite. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I know that 110 seems obvious. It seems crowded. There's nothing to worry about with ETH. Like ETH chilling right here is no big deal, you know. I guess I could see 4K if 110 did come on Bitcoin. But I do believe if we are going to be in an environment through the rest of this quarter where we're just going to start ripping and ETH goes into price discovery, my expectation would be more or less that Bitcoin doesn't give you that perfect textbook technical correction. But as I noted last week, there are some relatively clear signs of local momentum loss on Bitcoin. But we'll see. Like, if we are really entering a period in the market when altcoins should outperform, led by ETH, of course, Bitcoin's not going to give you that perfect textbook technical correction. It's going to just kind of find support at I don't know, like there will be support, like there's support at 115, but it's like, it's really not like it's the obvious support is 110. If we are going to be in a really strong environment, you'll see the thing just kind of turn around for no reason. So that's my hope, is that it's just kind of an awkward spot for Bitcoin, but it shows just enough strength to let ETH continue to rally. So
yeah, I agree with that. We'll show Bitcoin in a minute. I was just working on this and I don't want to lose it because I'm pretty slow with this comparison stuff. But yeah, Bitcoin deviating the highs, right? It seems like we're putting in some sort of range here locally. A deviation of the range low, which is that 110 level Max mentioned, it does make sense, right? It does make a little sense here. But like he said, looks like seems as if a lot of people are waiting for that at this point, almost like calling it as a certainty. And it does get a little more dicey if you come down into that level, right? I'd much rather put in a higher low around here, reclaim 117. 117 is a big level on Bitcoin, in my opinion. Above that, way more confirmation for bullish continuation. Below, a little dicey, right? So we're below it now on a weekend drop. We also have to remember that as well, right? Weekend price action, not always the best signal, right? So we'll see what happens, right? But until Bitcoin high time frame uptrend, ETH high time frame uptrend, locally Bitcoin ranging, right? Until any of those things are negated, we're just chopping, right? We're just chopping, and there's some comparisons I want to go over as well on Bitcoin. But I do have up the Russell here because I think the Russell is very important. I think it's a very strong signal that a lot of people have forgotten about due to the fact that we did reject here on the Russell, end of 2024, along with cryptos and stuff like that, topping maybe a month or so later. But if you guys remember and are longtime listeners, we were referring to the Russell here. We were expecting a break of all-time highs or anticipating one because when the Russell breaks all-time highs is when you see, that altcoin, like liquidity flowing into the altcoin market, right? So I think the Russell looks great here. I really think the Russell looks great. I think that's a bullish signal, right? So blocking out the noise of the local price action, which is always going to be messy and confusing in bullish environments. That's just how it is. That's kind of by design, in my opinion. But if you're looking at other things, right, that give high time frame signal, which the Russell is one of them, right? Russell being in price discovery is bullish for crypto, right? Russell in price discovery, if you guys don't know, Russell is low cap stocks, so it's all like the lowest cap stocks in the stock market, and they're about the last on the risk curve. They're about the riskiest you can get as far as the stock market's concerned, and that's the closest comparison we have to crypto, right? Because under Russell is crypto, right? The crypto at the end of the day is the riskiest and highest volatile asset class in the world at this point in time, and you have to remember that. But the Russell trading well, heading to the upside, eventually breaking all-time highs, is a bullish signal, is a high beta risk on signal, right? So I really do think right now the Russell is following almost to a T, right, what we saw during the COVID drop, right? But this time around, it was the tariff drop, right? So different scenarios, but kind of same outcome, right? Big, scary drop. After looking like it wanted to break all-time highs, we kind of did the same thing back here, right? Russell pushing old all-time highs, looking like it's going to break. Boom. Big, scary drop, kind of pushing back this breakout about 6-9 months. Right now, Russell, right? Reclaiming key structure. Russell successfully on the weekly, with multiple weekly closes above it and even flipping into support here, the 2021 all-time high distribution range, right? That's a key structure we need to get, needed to recapture to have a chance at breaking the old all-time highs. So we got the Russell recapturing key terrain here, flipping into support here over the last couple of weeks, trying to push higher off that reclaim, and looks to be stair-stepping and starting its journey back to the all-time highs. Very similar to this look, right? Lost key structure, boom, started chopping, right? Kind of like this bull chop we're seeing now, where it's like this kind of slow grind, bull chop, higher. Eventually, you get the all-time high break, boom, low cap stocks break out for about 6 months. If you count like this high, it was about a year. And what did we see out of altcoins, right? So the chart below is what I like to call the altcoin market cap chart. It's not others. It's actually total, only excluding Bitcoin and ETH. And what we see as the Russell is breaking its all-time highs, the steepness of the trend off the lows for the altcoin market begins to steepen, right? And you could see as the Russell is breaking all-time highs, heading into price discovery, you have the altcoin market breaking key resistance here. Not the old all-time high. Where we're at now is at the 2020 all-time high. So that is a slight difference, but I'm looking at these structures the same. You see the steepness and the run altcoins went on once the Russell entered price discovery. And right now it looks very promising for the Russell to do so. So blocking out all the noise here, right? Taking a step back from the day-to-day price action, which is very choppy, very confusing. And looking at stuff like this, you have the altcoin market cap chart banging on the door of the 2021 all-time high. You have the Russell stair-stepping, reclaiming key terrain, looking like it's going to pull that COVID-like fractal. And this is how close I think we are to seeing the altcoin market really establish uptrends for finally, right? So I think this is a bullish signal. I think this looks great. I think it's bullish, and it looks like history is kind of repeating itself here. And looking at it in this lens, things look very promising to me.
Yeah, I think the high time frame continues to look incredible. Really, kind of we'll call it negative sentiment, but I don't even know if I would call it that. I think a lot of it comes from the fact that you had ETH pump, which was something that we expected, but what we didn't quite expect was the complete lack of dispersion really for these altcoins. I mean, Link pumped, Ave kind of gave a pump. You had some other ETH beta that kind of perked up a touch, like Pendle, ironically. But as a whole, you know, I think that the market hasn't quite had that ability for liquidity to be more dispersed on both recent Bitcoin and ETH rallies. So that's contributing a little bit to sentiment. I do think that wherever we kind of bottom out from, I think Jackus was talking about this morning on the call, so I don't want to misquote him, but I think he said something similar, kind of wherever we kind of bottom out, whether it's through extended range, whether it's dropping a little bit deeper. I do think that dispersion is going to come from this next ETH bottom, because that kind of, I feel like that kind of makes sense, right? When we look at ETH dominance and the run that it's had, Bitcoin dominance to me still looks like it's set for lower pricing. I know it's green today, obviously, because alts are being de-risked, but in general, I think Bitcoin dominance's path is going to be lower on a higher time frame. So I think we're going to see that dispersion eventually. I don't know how much deeper this pullback is going to go. It might, like the lows already might be in, who knows? I do know that Jerome Powell is probably going to frame this week of price action, which is unfortunate. But I'd like to get y'all's thoughts on that, because one of the things that I pointed out in my intro that I remember pretty distinctly, the last 2 weeks that Powell spoke, I went in with a bullish bias and I ended up intra-week shorting because like that was just kind of what the market called for. We had de-risking into Powell, and then Powell was a turd in the punch bowl, and we had selling off after Powell as well. But the market found a bottom kind of close to the end of those weeks, and I don't know if this week will be that dissimilar. But I mean, the reality is ETH ran up almost 100% with basically no pullbacks. So it's not a complete surprise that we're seeing maybe a bit of a pause here.
I'll say this, man. Everyone listen. Everything's going according to a plan. The only thing that's really tough is that alts haven't followed up on the E strengths so far. If alts were trading where ETH is, which is above December highs, and we were currently experiencing the pullback that ETH is, absolutely nobody would be panicking. It's a largest sub game that is currently playing out. And that is what is confusing so many people, alongside the fact that it's taking so long. And if you were to, and I know some of you guys are, fans of the Fourier cycle. I'm a big hater of it. And if you were to believe the Fourier cycle, you would have to be selling in the next 3 weeks. The next 3 weeks is just facts, extrapolated from the prior cycle. This is what confuses lots of people. You had BTC running from the lows with semi-bear markets in between. You just had ETH that broken out of a near 5-year-long range to the upside, but at the same time, you have alts that are still trading as if ETH were at 2.2K, and you have Fourier cycle currently coming in, and that leaves so many people confused. But I once again say, if alts were to trade above their December highs, everyone would be in a ecstatic mental state right now. But the fact that they've been ranging since May is really taking the best out of people right now.
It's been the story of this cycle. Just
they are all catching. They are all catching one by one. Like XRP ranged for so long, then suddenly all-time highs. Sol, all-time highs. ETH now near all-time highs, right? So they are positioning.
Link starting to go,
Link started to go, Aave started to go, but still nowhere near their December highs, nowhere near their all-time highs. But in my opinion, I still think we'll see about that, of course. There are invalidation levels. But until further notice, this cycle keeps on playing. And again, if alts were higher, nobody would care. So yeah, everything's going, as it should. It's just extended.
Yeah,
I agree with that, Jackus. I agree with you completely. And the unfortunate casualty of that is all.
Let me attack the comment section right now, because I find it pretty crazy that people keep saying that. I'll do that with facts straight on the chart, because it's quite ludicrous.
You're about to get cooked, Alex. I don't know why you did that. He's gonna fucking cook you.
It was
Let him
made
have
to
it,
get.
Chef.
Listen, just pure facts.
Now
right?
he's got the chart out. See, here's how you know. I'm sorry to interject here, Jackus. When Jackus just pulls out the chart with the likes being as low as they are, you know that you struck a nerve. You knocked a screw loose in his head, and he's about to just hit you with a tornado of data. But anyways, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry for about you're about to get cooked, Alex. But Chef, please continue.
Just pure facts. If we take the cycle top, the current one on ETH, and keep in mind we haven't even broken all-time highs yet on ETH, it's 1,379 days. If we take the prior cycle into the equation and extrapolate that number, we are currently right here. So you have 1, 2, 3 weeks next in which you should be selling the top. That is if I'm very generous and I take this high, because if you were to use BNB, if you were to use XRP, if you were to use Doge, if you were to use AVE, if you were to use most of alts, they all topped in April or May, early May 21 or April. But I'm generous. I'll use this high, although it was a deviation one. So by 4-year cycle, you should be selling in the next 3 weeks if you want to play it. And again, you can extend it a few weeks earlier. Maybe top is in now. If you want to believe that, maybe it's 3 weeks after this, really. But it's generally this area, by facts. That's where you are right there in a 4-year cycle. So no, it's not that what you say, Alex. It's not that it can mean, that you can extend this to whatever time frame. No, if you are a believer in the 4-year cycle, you need to be selling right now. Otherwise, it's no longer a 4-year cycle. And I do not actually want to add more information than that publicly, but it's that's that.
Well, Jack, see, if you were to draw a line on your chart from the 2021 top, not like the all-time high. I'm sorry, 2021. No, the one to the left, the first top. Yeah. If you were to draw a line right there, you can clearly see that we'll never break that level with a close. And this is actually a very rare septuple top. I'm not sure if you actually know what that is, Jack. It's this would be the first time ever. This is a septuple top, which means that you didn't double top, triple top, quadruple top, quintuple top, septuple top. I mean, sextuple top, septuple top, meaning this is now the 7th. Yeah. You're from Czech. You're filthy. You got share the statistic, Jack. What's the statistic about where you're from that you're most proud of, man? It's porn stars per capita, right?
No, I'm most proud about the beer consumption.
is
the largest in the world.
And then second.
Yeah, but we are also top in the porn stars. Yes.
Yeah.
It has its own category, right? If you go on a certain sites, but
porn stars per capita.
Yeah, that's real. The beer consumption and the porn stars per capita. So of course, naturally, Jackus, he heard me say sextuple top, and he pounced.
But you literally that's what I hear, sextuple, right?
Yeah, you would hear that. Yeah, that makes sense why you would hear that. Yeah,
the biggest beer.
I think there's a correlation there between the beer and the porn.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a sextuple top, okay, or a
Yeah.
septuple, and it might even, depending on how you want to measure it, be an octuple top. So, like, if you
Max.
think the double top
First,
last
right,
cycle for
from
Bitcoin was
septuple
bad,
top.
Yeah.
this
Go
is
on.
clearly we need to take out the July 2022 lows, because you deviate range high, you octuple top. Then you obviously need it. Yeah, exactly. You get it. You're learning. Yeah. I'm happy I could share this piece of analysis with you, Chef, because it's not that
Thank you.
often I get to teach you something, but when I do, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside to teach you about the octuple top. It's cool. Yeah.
I'm glad for you teaching me the sextuple top. I will
Yeah, you're
definitely
welcome.
keep on using it.
Yeah, you owe me one. You owe me, but you can pay me later, or help me later, but you owe me. So
No, Jackie's
You guys-
newsletter was never 10. It was always 15.
the
But,
best
you guys
$15 value on
search,
the internet,
right, for
honestly.
the septuple top.
Listen, people looking at this range, if Capo was living in the 70s, he would probably go on and be like, sextuple top. we need to, the smart money concept traders. We need to come back for these two equal lows. That's a guarantee.
It's because the
liquidity now,
interbanking, the
price delivery algorithm.
Yes, that one. Yeah. That's the Elliott wave 5
big
right
arrow
there,
up.
Jack. That's
There's
the
like
Elliott
a
wave.
massive,
Wave.
there's a massive move down and then like vertically higher.
But not even joking. Like, can you imagine having held the Dow through that decade right there? I mean, that would be.
Yeah.
If you think we've been dealing with bullshit and pain, like, imagine if you were bullish on industrials during like the late 60s into the 70s, and you're just like, oh, here it comes, like the next industrial revolution any day now. And then it's just like septuple top.
It's our turn.
And then you get the largest rally ever.
Yep. Funny how that works.
Ours is different. We're going to zero, but that one's nice to study, Not enough of you respect the octuple or septuple or sextuple top, and that shows. It shows.
Not to be confused with the octuple top.
Imagine buying in the 1990, in the in the beginning of 20th century, and just seeing your investment, or maybe let's say here 1905, and then 40 years later, and you are still break even.
Dude, insane.
I've read many books about the time and how people thought about stuff, and they literally saw, because back then it was literally that people believed just gold and they hoarded it, and the only other thing they would buy would be the government bonds, yielding them 5-10%. Stocks were this hot new thing. They thought it's a scam, especially after the Great Depression. Nobody wanted to touch it.
That was like the Roaring 20s. That pump.
Yeah.
This one? Oh,
No,
this one. Yeah.
You're telling me ETH's about to do that?
Yes.
No, I have no idea.
The golden age.
Octuple.
It's a golden age.
Well, anyways, if you believe in the, let's study Doge, by the way. Let's study Doge, right?
What do you? Yeah, I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts on Doge here, Jackus.
Listen, if you believe in the 4-year cycle, all right, cycle top, then let's study the time until the top, 1,442 days. Prior cycle, 1,200 days. This cycle, you are not even at all-time highs, and you are at 1,575 days. So you should have been selling, like 200 days ago for the cycle top. For the 4-year cycle. if you haven't sold now, you should really run into the market and sell everything. If you believe in a 4-year cycle, go in and sell it all right now, because you are long due, right? And you are just lucky that you are still here if you believe it. I
You know
don't
what I
believe in it.
find so interesting about the Doge chart from last cycle, Jackus, is that, you know, Bitcoin went in to do a double top, and for that Bitcoin double top from like 30K to 69K, that's when things
Yeah.
like Solana went crazy. Like a lot of the
Yeah.
new shit coins. Doge peaked on the first Bitcoin peak, right? Would you be able to put like an ETH chart or others chart below, like some other shit coin, even Sol, doesn't matter. Anything. Because you'll see that, like, if you were to, if you mark out the, like, when ETH and Sol topped and then mark that out on Doge exactly, how many days did that take if you just extend the second cycle measurement on Doge? How long did that take if we want to count that as the top? I know Doge didn't actually top then, but can you extend, do the second cycle? So see the one in the middle, your gold. Yeah. Just drag the right side of it to that vertical line that you just drew. So keep that there, but then I'm just curious how,
like this.
no, so delete that. So just see the second cycle where it says, just
Drag that
extend
to
it
the
to the right. So leave it there, pinned where you have it, but then extend the right side of it.
I gotcha. Like this.
No.
No, how do
I'm
I
so
explain this?
confused.
Okay.
Extend it to the ETH top.
Yeah,
Leave it where
yeah,
it is and extend it.
yeah. Yes, drag that. How many days was that?
1,400 days.
Okay. So this is still longer than even if we pretended that Doge went back up for that second altcoin burst. Yeah. It's clearly an extended cycle, right? How long it extends, does it go January of next year, April of next year? I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But like,
is it an extended cycle though, or is it just a delayed cycle? Because we haven't had any cycle yet, really.
but what's the difference?
The difference is it'll take the same amount of time once it gets going, but it has to get going first. I don't know. Like, I guess there isn't really a difference. Like extended would mean that we've been in a cycle, right? For this amount of time, but we haven't. Only Bitcoin has, So are we going to get the same cycle timing just pushed back, like 6 months? We get the same amount of time for the altcoin cycle, right?
Well, one thing is for sure, Louis, right? All of these were topping after thousands of percents of gains. Right now, we are not even close to all-time highs. Like we are, we are still like we are 240% away from all-time highs, right? So to even talk about topping, to even talk about some euphoria, I have no idea what these people are coming from. The only way, right, that you can somehow fit in the 4-year cycle would be BTC. And I suppose, listen, I always say this, it's possible. It's possible it's still playing out. And it's been just Bitcoin that ran. And then everything else did not. And everything just goes to zero from here. And it's possible. Like anything can happen at any time. But it has to happen now if you believe in that. And you need to literally accept that the market never went to euphoria. And yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, to me, I mean, it's just kind of a product of we came out of a very speculative range for a lot of these assets. And I feel like you can kind of look at something like Link as an example of this, right? Like Link had its speculative market cycle in 2021. And I think that people are expecting like a crescendo almost too soon for some of these assets, where again, like something like Link, a very large cap asset now at this point, had its speculative cycle in 2021. We're seeing kind of more of like an acceptance of its fundamentals right now. And that kind of takes time. I mean, look at the way that tech stocks and bank stocks traded post 2008, after, you know, effectively that echo bubble for tech and echo bubble for, I would say, like a lot of different things kind of completed. And I feel like that's just something that's going to take time. I don't know if we're ever going to have, you know, another like 5 to 10x rip on majors within a handful of months. Maybe we do, but I do think, you know, kind of the longer that we build up towards it, the more likely that will happen. But that takes time. It takes a lot of time, in my opinion, because we are cooking up the adoption cycle, not something that can be confined within the traditional 4-year window. It will be tethered to liquidity. It will be tethered to equity markets. And we might see some of these. I mean, what we're probably likely to see is that Bitcoin and ETH trade very closely tethered to liquidity, obviously. Maybe they trade a bit more like, large cap bank stocks or large cap tech stocks going forward, but altcoins continue to just go through these very boom and bust cycles based on liquidity and what's happening with the markets, their catalysts, etc. But majors going up in price inevitably will feed back into more native crypto tokens, right? Maybe they have to go higher before that happens, but it will happen eventually, in my opinion. Kind of like a good barometer for when we could expect something like others to run is going to be BNB, which we haven't really talked about today. I don't even know what it's doing, actually.
It keeps grinding higher. I discussed this a few times. So like you have BNB trading right now, right here. It's also kind of telling. Yeah. Well, in any case, the 4-year cycle on BTC, right? Again, you should be selling everything beginning of October.
Why wait? Why not just sell everything right now? I don't understand.
Could be, right? Like it was down minus 35 days. If we count in minus 35 again, then you kind of need to be selling at I'm using the 2-week chart here, so I can't do that. But you should be selling in September. So
if you compare where, like, let's say if you use like an others chart or whatever, like those, you know, altcoins usually top what, about like a month or so after that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
it's not that different.
So what if instead of the extended cycle, because in everyone's mind at this point, it's we haven't moved, we're slow moving, we can't get an established trend. What if instead of an extended cycle, which a lot of people are talking about, which obviously, you know, does make sense, right? It makes a lot of sense. What if, like, because no one can fathom, you know, the next 3 months being absolutely insane, right? What if we just get that instead of an extended cycle, we get the last 2 years of crap, and then we get like 3 months of absolute mania, and we still kind of top around that same time, you know? So that would put us like end of, you know, Q4, early Q1, like that. That's also a possibility that I haven't heard mentioned once, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's a possibility that no one's talking about either.
I think if you were to get something like that, I think the closest you are to that point is literally this price action here in 2013. It still lasted, you know, lots of weeks here, but I suppose 3 months could do it, right? 84 days. So you would need to see something like this. But the quicker it happens, obviously there would be a strong pullback, but then possible continuation higher again. But again, it comes to like, I just don't see a reason for top here. I just don't. And it could happen. You need to have invalidations always. But fundamentally, it just doesn't make sense to me. TA-wise doesn't make sense to me. And we will have to see if obviously the upside comes, then we have to see the magnitude of it. We need to see how and when. I agree, Louis. If we were to do like 3 months of insane pumping, then you definitely need to take that into account. You need to see the market caps and stuff like that. But we'll see. I said this before. I see higher for longer I see this being a multi-year bull market with semi-bear markets in between. So far, I keep getting proven right with that. Not that I'm enjoying it, right? I'm just saying what I see. And what I saw was, again, bull market and then 1, 2, 3 bear markets in between, pretty much, or like multi-month pullbacks. And then you can keep on going. So yeah. By the way, if I look at the current BTC price, and if I were to like extrapolate it to any historical price, this doesn't look like any top. What it does look like is literally these volatility squeezes and slow grinds up. It's literally this one before the big exponential breakout.
Yep.
But you could say this one just squeezed in a lot, so let's not use it. But then you have these two, this one, and then this one. You can see how tight these candles are. And maybe, we could say this period. I don't see any other, there in the chart. Maybe like this one closely, but this is not literally how any of these tops looked like, not even here. If let's see, actually, volatility, I could use the historical one, which is going to be at the lows. It's probably not the best, but let me maybe use the Bollinger Bands. Maybe my right, and this is a good one. Well, I'm sure if this is a good one. I can see it on the chart, right? Like the price is very squeezed, keeps slowly grinding up. Again, if I were to put like these side by side, so let's examine that. Then if anything, then this price action reminds me so much of this price action. You have a price grinding higher, then the candles of the bodies get really, really squeezed up. And imagine if this wick right didn't happen. Imagine, because that's sort of like a big wick here, right? Imagine these wicks are just very quick, very low volume price action. Imagine it like this. And yeah, obviously, things where maybe I can go even on like a daily time frame, so it's more visually clear. And then you basically are literally in this period.
Yeah.
You had a big drop here, push higher to new highs, drop, another push higher.
Bull chop. I like that example a lot, and like this is kind of what I was referring to earlier on in my rant. Mine's a little more granular. Like on the daily time frame, if you just put on a Bitcoin chart on the daily, and you kind of compare what we're doing now to how the price action was end of 2024, leaving that like 8-month consolidation. The price action looks very similar to me. Because if most don't remember, but when we were leaving that 8-month consolidation out of Bitcoin, we had multiple big pumps and big drops, but price ultimately ended up continuing to stair step higher, getting tighter and squeezing, and eventually you saw that volatility squeeze up into 100K plus. So that's kind of the comparison I'm using, but this is also another great example. And this is the price action that confuses a lot of people, right? Like instead of just riding the trend, they're too zoomed in, and every little scary drop is freaking everyone out, right? But this is what we've seen.
Fractals are foolproof. I'm so glad people. First of all, this isn't about fractal. This is about volatility. Very two different things. The fractal here is only like good use of an example. And second, I'm just so happy people keep ignoring fractals. It's because they do not know how to utilize them. I think I've proven that through the years more than enough that they are very valuable piece of information to use. Obviously, nothing's perfect, but nothing is. You can, doesn't matter if you're going to use VWAPs, they fail a lot. Doesn't matter if you're going to use RSI, doesn't matter if you're going to use FVGs, doesn't matter whatever you're going to use. It's all about context and putting things together. It's about the volatility squeeze that you get after another break here, after the slow grind up, where people expect this one to roll over, and then instead it pushes higher, doesn't retrace. But it's really, let me actually go back here. I just want to screen this for later. But it's more about, again, like these slow grind ups where the volatility is very tamed, and then you get the volatility breakout. Again, this doesn't have to happen, but what we keep saying, play the trend as long as the trend is happening. Don't give in to the bear porn, and bear porn is really strong today or the past days. And until you get it confirmation of a breakdown, you keep playing it. And again, I feel very little people are expecting the volatility break to be to the downside. And if we do actually look at the the volatility index from BitMEX, then you would see that we are at historical lows, from which each time we had a very massive pump up. Obviously the volatility doesn't give you like the direction, and again, you need to be open to both sides. But as of now, we keep trending upwards.
Can you zoom in on the daily, Jackus, and you can keep that volatility on, and look at the price action coming. It was like November of 2024. That same concept you were talking about. Like you see that like every time we were looking like we were going to break out on price, you kept getting those drops, but kept stair stepping higher, and then eventually bang, like big volatility squeeze to the upside. That price action from end of 2024 looks very similar to me what we're doing now in Bitcoin. And a lot of people had the same emotions then that we're seeing now, right? Like 8 months of consolidation. Everyone's like, no one believes that Bitcoin can rally. This is a sucker's rally. That quote from that market cycle chart. And it just continues to climb, right, until eventually volatility squeezes. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the daily here for Bitcoin. So
I don't know, man. I keep hearing, I've heard it ever since here. Like cycle top is in, cycle top is in, post ETFs. Haha, told you so. Cycle top is in. See 2021 cycle top here. Then 3-tab. Hey, cycle top is in. Oh no, cycle top is in. Oh, another cycle. You know what? Play the trend, man. Don't try to be a smartass. Play the trend.
That's it. That's all it is.
And that's it. That's all it is, right? And then when the and obviously this is just Bitcoin, which is way different to alts, again, as we discussed. But even regarding BTC alone, you do not know how long this trend is going to keep on going. Again, you think you are smart. Lots of smart people got their hedge funds that were worth billions liquidated during the dot-com bubble, by longing the strong stocks and shorting the weak ones. It was Stanley Druckenmiller, Wall Street's most successful manager in history, making 30% average on a year return. Nobody has done that. Warren Buffett 20%. Nobody's come, nobody did better than him. Proven. He said, I shorted 10 stocks that I thought were, horrible. He made 200 million worth of a short on those stocks, and they had 600 million loss on that 200 million short. And guess what? All of them went bankrupt half or a year later. Right? What I'm trying to say, you want to play the trend.
It's amazing how long things can take to play out in markets. I will say that. Like, I remember thinking that basically the correction that we saw in February, March, and April was going to happen back in like Q3 of 2024. So like, there's definitely something to be said about, kind of giving your ideas time to simmer. And usually I don't know. I just feel like this cycle has been kind of like the perfect encapsulation of that, where everybody kind of has like this faith that blockchain is being adopted, Bitcoin is being adopted, Ethereum is being adopted. But at the same time, there's just like this, there's always like a worry that somebody is going to turn the lights off on the asset class at the same time. You don't know when it is. There's all this obsession over when it's actually going to happen, but nobody actually knows. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it takes a really long time for some things to play out in markets. And it's a great example that we looked at the Dow Jones, for example, earlier on the show, talking about the 60s and 70s price action. I mean, it went sideways for basically 15 to 20 years. So I'm not saying that that's what Bitcoin is going to do, but, a testament to how long some thesis can take to play out in markets. Using the extreme example, of course, to prove my point.
Like, it's not the same, right? Here, it's never the same. I'm not even like, I don't want to use this as a fractal whatsoever, but the volatility squeeze is probably the closest to this time. You had a breaking price action, then you had a deep pullback, you had another push, smaller drop, then you had another push, nearly no drop. Volatility is died out, and the volatility break is to the upside. Obviously, this was after a decent rally already, and obviously way different times, and we weren't after above prior cycle time highs, so that magnitude can differ here. But still, that volatility break, I still tend to think it's going to be to the upside. We really teased it here, another piece of reaccumulation, but I do not know why. Again, the only I suppose it's funny, and I think Max said it really perfectly today. I think it was in the VC call, but there are plenty of people who just got liquidated, and they just for some reason decided to stay here, waffle, and be really negative about the price because the market hurt them, and so now they, take great pleasure from seeing others lose with them, and they want to see this market go down. They want to see everyone get hurt. They have $100 portfolios, and they keep just trying to call the cycle top here. But the reality is that you got no confirmation. This is a clear bull market, and you want to treat it as such. That's the reality. The market has already, like we've been saying this for a long time. The market has already vindicated us, proved wrong the other guys, and the invalidation is now higher than where everyone was calling for cycle tops prior to that. But obviously, CT has a memory or nutshell, so they don't even remember what happened in May. But yeah, I'm ready to take another battle here easily. Again, I'll play the market, play the trend until proven otherwise.
Trend is higher. The trend is absolutely higher in my Bitcoin. I think it's just like the stalling of momentum. And look, yeah, I think you can acknowledge both the fact that Bitcoin has stalled a bit in momentum and also hit some pretty heavy levels of supply here, while also acknowledging that, you know, that doesn't have to necessarily signal that we're at a cycle top, but it could signal that we are about to see a deeper pullback on Bitcoin. Do you guys think that that's a possibility from here, that we see Bitcoin potentially break the lows that we set a few weeks ago and potentially trade higher, or do we think that we're getting close to the lows already being put in?
I don't know. I want to hear Max and Louis' thoughts.
Are you talking locally, Tommy?
Yeah, I mean, kind of specifically just trading around the lows Bitcoin put in early August. Do we think? Because I will say, if we come down to sweep those lows, to me that would be bait. I would not want to see that. I think you kind of want to see Bitcoin establish a basing structure or range, but not sweep that low. That would, I mean, honestly, just like looking at the structure of Bitcoin right now, if you were to break below the early August lows, to me that would look a bit like locally we have a double topping structure, even though that's kind of a meme, right? I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at how I would trade it if it were inverted. And I think you really want those 112 lows to hold, or else we are potentially talking about a deeper pullback.
Yeah, you know, I agree. I would much rather price hold around like this 115, 114 level. We are putting in a range on the lower time frames, right? It looks like we're establishing a range of some sort. The range low is sitting around 112. Deviation of that range low puts us around like 110. I agree. I'd much rather see us create higher lows on the lower time frame and continue to grind higher, reclaim that 117. But you know, I still, even if we do come down there, I think that's more of a sign of weakness, like you said, Tommy. I agree with that. But I wouldn't, you know, have any conviction in anything unless, you know, the 110K is lost, like with conviction. So I'd say we can come down there. I think it's more of a sign of strength if we don't. So I'd much rather, like I agree with you, I'd much rather us see those lows respected. And, you know, if we do come down there, it is more of a sign of weakening trend, in my opinion. But at the same time, we've seen that a lot where like we you know, I feel like I've had this feeling a lot with Bitcoin where like, I'm like, yeah, I don't think we should revisit these lows.
And then it does.
And then it does. And then it holds, right? And then you see that big like single day reversal or whatever it is. So that's what we've been seeing, right? So I'm not also going to count that out either. So we're kind of in no man's land here. But yeah, I agree. I would much rather see those lows respected and not revisit, you know, this local range lows here.
I think that's a great point, though, Louis. Bitcoin has had a way of like trading as confusing and to cause as much pain to participants as humanly possible.
I also don't see Bitcoin and ETH cooling off as a bad thing. I think that's a good thing for alts. You know, obviously alts feel the brunt of it on the initial knee-jerk reaction. But ultimately, a pause in ETH and Bitcoin without completely breaking down, I think is an environment where altcoins can thrive, right? We've seen Bitcoin specifically going up for like 2 years, right? And then hasn't really done anything for altcoins. So to say that we need Bitcoin to continue to go higher for altcoins to go up, I think is kind of a skewed way of thinking at this point. We're even starting to see it with ETH, right? ETH monster move off the lows, and we've barely seen that reflect in the altcoin market. So, you know, maybe a pause in ETH and Bitcoin it is what, you know, the altcoin markets need. So like, I'm kind of like on the fence with it, right? Like normally, you know, ask me 2 years ago, I'd say, yeah, you want to see Bitcoin and ETH heading higher for the altcoin market, but that really hasn't given much signal, right? Or proven that that's what we need. Maybe we need a cool off for Bitcoin and ETH, even if it's just a couple weeks, right? And then we see that capital rotation flow into altcoins. So we're kind of in an area where like everything that we used to kind of need and want to see is not really what's been playing this cycle. So in my mind, anything can happen. And that's kind of how I'm up. The trend is up. Altcoins are at value prices. You have, like I showed in the beginning of the show, Russell looks to be gaining momentum, looking to break out. Altcoin market cap pressing 2021 all-time highs. That's the data I'm looking at. All the other local price action on majors is pretty much noise. And we don't know how or when, we're going to see the altcoin sector expand. But I think it is coming, and maybe we need a pause, right? Maybe ETH pulling back isn't such a bad thing.
I think it will prove to be a good thing. I mean, we just saw ETH dominance shoot up to kind of like a historically abnormal level, at least how quickly it did it. I don't quite, I'm going to butcher his @ on X. It's like Kavan XYZ or something like that. He had a great tweet talking about this last week. Basically, that ETH dominance is the furthest away from the mean that I think it's on par with like one of the fastest and most aggressive ETH dominance moves that this market has seen. So I think from that standpoint specifically, like that is going to benefit beta when that comes down. Again, we could see ETH pull back more. I think coming into this week, I was expecting maybe a lot more strength out of Bitcoin and ETH. So maybe this is just a Monday trap. And on Wednesday's show, we're having a very different discussion. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to kind of be like that case where, when Bitcoin gives that huge dominance run up and then pulls back, obviously you have the wipeout on alts, but then when they rebound, alts catch the much stronger bid. I feel like it'll be kind of similar with ETH here. I mean, that's kind of how it's been all cycle, but the question then becomes, okay, where is ETH going to be looking to find a bottom?
I don't know, man, guys. I look at these two charts. I see the volatility drop, the squeeze straight down to the lows. These two are textbook example of a volatility drop. Obviously, that volatility outcome can be to both sides, but until you get a confirmation, why would you fight the trend, right?
Yeah.
I just yeah, it's literally there. This whole cycle since the bottom, each time volatility dropped down to these levels, you had a big breakout. Maybe this time is different. Maybe it is, but you're guessing again.
I'm pretty confident we resolve higher on a multi-month basis. On kind of like a multi-week basis, I think the VIX looks decent here for potential move up around Jackson Hole. So I would say that's something that I'm acknowledging and trading around. But yeah, I mean, Jackus, it's like you said, I don't think there's really anything that to me would communicate that the cycle top is in. Sell all my spot holdings. That doesn't really make sense. We're edging. Pre-goon.
The only thing that has me really concerned about Bitcoin is just how terrible I think MSTR looks. I hate to be the guy that just brings it up every show, but somebody needs to fix that chart. I don't know who it's going to be, but I'm also okay with the idea that we could have like an exclusive Bitcoin cycle, which is like kind of coming to an end. We're certain, I think we're going to go up from here, but like we're in the later stage Bitcoin cycle. And then we're going to have a full-blown alt cycle that Bitcoin doesn't really participate in like it would have in previous cycles. But that MSTR chart is spooking me.
I think it looks good, and I think it looks exactly like silver has in 1970, 1979, if I remember correctly.
Well, I'm more inclined to trust your analysis than my own, Jackus. So I'm going to just go with what you're saying then, because I feel like you see it clearly. But I just don't like you know what I'm talking about, like the structural divergence between Bitcoin over the past quarter and then MicroStrategy.
I don't want to put more alpha out there, but do you remember what we did with the December top in regarding Pepe and meme coins?
I do.
Do it now with this price action.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Right. Jackus, do you put any stock into the conspiracy theories that BlackRock holds 5% of MSTR stock?
No, this is a dumb thing.
I was just bringing up the conspiracy theory. I wasn't making any conclusions about it. I was just asking what your thoughts were.
But that's like they do.
Yeah.
I do not know if people remember that, but during the bear market bottom, I was actually mentioning it, that companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, and so forth were increasing their stock size on strategy by tens of thousands %. You can look it up. They were buying.
No, I know. Do you think that they would try to undermine Michael Saylor? Is what I'm getting at. That's the conspiracy. I know that's always kind of been present because of the fact that you just brought up, like they did buy the bottom. They have a significant share of the supply. And I tend to agree with Max. Like I think the MSTR chart looks a little bit unhealthy. Just purely from the way the dynamics of it. They can't buy any more Bitcoin. They can't buy any more Bitcoin unless the price of Bitcoin goes up. Unless they sell down common share MSTR stock. I mean, I've seen that dynamic play out a few times before, but I wouldn't say that there's anything necessarily to be worried about with MSTR unless you start losing like $300. And then in that case, I would say, okay, that looks really, really bad. But I think, the MST or the Bitcoin MSTR bottom is almost certainly in. I think you disagree with that take though, Jackus. I'm just not really a big MSTR bull here. I don't like the look of the structure. I'm open to being very bullish on it if we start to reapproach those highs at 450. But right now, I think the context of it is not super favorable with, I mean, they announced today they bought $50 million worth of Bitcoin. They're running out of bullets.
I like that thought. I literally think MSTR is right here. I don't know. We'll see. Of course, there are risks to the market, but until proven, I think Like nobody's counting in the fact. No, you know what? Short it, sell it all, man. Have fun. You know what? I don't need to convince you. Have fun.
I do think there are some short-term risks to Bitcoin specifically, but I don't think that they are end of cycle type of things, personally. So it's kind of like, you know, we'll see what happens, but I think it's a really important next few days if you're looking for. I mean, if you are like a 4-year cycler believer, you should be looking for a really strong response out of this sell-off that we've seen probably over the next few days, because you need to see the market begin to move aggressively higher in the very, very short term, is what I would say to that. But that's my thoughts on it. I mean, I'm going to stick to the high time frame super cycle thesis. Everybody, it's a very unpopular thing to say. There will be volatility in between. Jack has mentioned it. I mean, it's like we see these mini cycles in a much larger cycle. And really, it's the thing that makes people think about the cyclicality of these assets is because they're all holding alts, right? They're basically all in alts, the very sensitive assets to liquidity specifically. And we know the deal when Bitcoin and ETH pull back. Obviously, alts get hit harder. They're going to be much more reflexive to market conditions. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin and ETH are in a much broader adoption cycle, and maybe we see another crypto asset eventually join them. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the market right now. It's like we could absolutely dump lower than here. I'm surprised that we sold off as aggressively as we did off the weekly open, but then I wasn't that surprised when I was thinking about it last night, and I've said it a few times on the show. It's like, well, the last 2 times Powell spoke, we were bullish coming into the week. We were expecting a bounce after Powell spoke. Powell was a turd in the punch bowl, and then we dumped more, but then we bottomed basically at like the end of the week. So probably see the same thing happen. I don't know.
Tommy, I have one question.
What?
What do you think? What do you think of the Lean Hawks futures here?
Bullish on. I mean, I've been seeing that the price of beef is, I know this isn't beef, but like the price of beef has been going up. I mentioned in our Discord, like I got chicken the other day for dirt cheap, man. I got 1.25 pounds of chicken for $3 at Sprouts the other day, which is just like unheard of, quite frankly. What do you think about that? Prometheus, I see you here. What do you think about getting almost a pound and a half of chicken for $3?
Prometheus. Prometheus. No, I love it. I really like Jax's take long term, like the decade of commodities kind of thing, talking about like scarcity of resources and materials moving forward, especially as we have expanding population. But I mean, cheap meat, you can't go wrong with cheap meat, man. Love
it's good meat too. It's not like
yeah, Sprouts is high quality stuff. It's not like the dumpster fire, it expired, buy one get one half off kind of thing, or it's like borderline decaying in the package. No, that's good stuff. I recommend if anybody has the opportunity to like find a few people that want to go in and buy like half a cow or a quarter cow or something. That's the most bang for your buck for sure.
What do you think of coriander futures?
Coriander futures. Oh, buddy.
Have you traded those?
Okay, when did it spike? In 2013 and post-COVID? I haven't looked at coriander futures. I'm not a studier of coriander.
The audience should definitely study coriander futures and what it means to the like button.
That is a healthy uptrend, though. SPX 6900 fractal question mark.
I see it. I see it. That fractal is ingrained into my brain right now because of Kip.
Well, not only I'm similar and it's ingrained in my head, but different in the fact that I bought SPX 6900 at 15 mil and sold it for a 2x thinking I was a baller. And then
on that
everybody
trade.
pulled up in the Lamborghini afterwards.
I bought SPX 6900 into that first pump that it did and sold while it was retracing because the structure looked totally fugly. And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Yep.
It ended up dropping like another 50 to 60% from where I sold it. But that's crypto, right? Like you feel like a winner for making a move like that. And then you feel like a complete idiot 2 or 3 months after that.
What about
Why is
peanuts?
never sell all your crypto?
Never sell all crypto. If you understand. What about peanuts? Are you guys bullish on peanuts or nuts in general?
I love peanut butter, I will say. I might have to invest.
I fuck with peanut. I'm sorry for the profanity, but I love peanut butter so much.
Yes. So good.
You should hedge yourself for the upside of the peanut butter prices going up.
Corner the market on peanuts.
Peanuts.
Because I heard you were invested in Kernel, weren't you? Is this the Kernel, Jackus?
True. Yeah, that's the one. You just didn't get it, Aino. What is?
Did you guys talk about hype already by
Wait,
chance?
wait, wait. What is anhydrous milk fat futures?
That's dehydrated milk. I'm pretty sure.
Holy shit!
I might be wrong on that. Let me just double check.
That actually looks really good.
Yeah, like
either it's gonna just keep oscillating or it's about to have a massive breakout to the upside. You're telling me I should go buy a cow? How do I hedge myself against the impending spike in milk prices?
what do you do for a living? Well, I long anhydrous milk fat futures. Well, good luck with that.
The fund has to buy like 20 acres to put all of our cows on. It's like full port cows.
Outperforming all the CT goofballs.
Does Fairlife have a stock that I can trade?
It's a good question.
It's probably going to go up. It does not look like it.
This is a clean chart.
I learned over the weekend that the Fairlife protein drinks that have like 30 grams of protein actually have a lot of microplastics in them, and I probably like it's probably not good that I've consumed as many as I have.
What about these blocks of cheese?
Did somebody say Gouda?
Is it correlated with the Swiss franc?
Yeah, probably with the pork cutout.
Rice futures are the real alpha in commodities.
What's coffee look like?
Well, let's study rice. Rough rice or rough rice futures?
Either ZR. Full port rice going into recession, boys.
Why does that look like others? Kind of. That looks like others before it bled a little bit. So you're telling me we have time, Prometheus?
So when you see rice ramping up, sell everything.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
But maybe not.
The hell? Why? Why is this correlated?
Because when times of need, what does everybody go to? Rice. It's like the cheapest option.
Makes sense.
But it's not when it starts to go up, it's when it starts to go up parabolically, right? So like here this literally tells you, right, we are still selling. So this tells you that we have lots of time. And then when it actually is about to start to go parabolic, that's when you sell. So like suppose. Yeah. Yeah, right. So here, this is the time window when you can make it. So like right now, you're at the bottom, and it will start slowly grind up. And then it starts to go parabolic.
Boom.
Well, that's too light, and this is where you need to sell. So again, even freaking Rice Futures is telling me that the top comes in around 2027. Well, it's there. It's there. The market is a all-known being, and it just predicts everything. And yeah, the best indicator is watching the Rice Futures.
Who would have thought?
I think so too.
Can we look at coffee beans before we wrap up?
Coffee beans. The KC or the Robusta coffee futures?
I don't know.
Robusta.
Arabica. Arabica. Well, let's try these. Ooh. Well, there is no correlation to coffee.
Why does it look exactly like
SPX?
the Ethereum open interest?
Oh.
No, I'm serious. They look the same. Why do they look the same? I'm serious. Like if you pull it up right now, they look identical. I don't know if you can get the data on TradingView, but like,
Me neither. Do you know what's the ticker on TradingView?
let me see. It might be an indicator. Let me see.
There is no Raymond brother. But I can give you the Raymond meme. There's no tradable.
Wait, you called ramen Raymond?
Oh, is it? You actually call it in a Czech accent. It's a ramen.
Ah.
All right then. It's a ramen.
That's probably a good spot for us to.
Wait. I still have this one. I still have this one on.
God, remember when ETH was at 2K?
Wow, yeah. Remember was that 1300?
Guys, do you remember when it was $80? I do.
I actually don't. I wasn't around in crypto.
I
back
wasn't
then.
either.
Probably a good thing. But
Imagine it was $80 and now it's like added 20 in front of it. It's...
Looks like Raymond is back on the menu.
Looks all right. Wait, is it ramen or ramen?
No, it's ramen. I was just
Ramen.
saying how you did.
Yeah. Well, for example, you guys pronounce this as like. In Czech, it would be like, right? It's like Nike. It's the same. You guys pronounce it Nike, but it's actually after the goddess, after the Greece goddess called Nike.
Yeah, English doesn't make sense. It's
but then
there,
ramen,
where. Two,
ramen is pronounced like ramen, how I would pronounce it in my language. But I would think that if this is Nike, then this is Raymond, but somehow it's not. It's like amen, right? You have amen, then you add R in front of it, and suddenly it's ramen. Why it's not amen, Raymond, right? Just logic out of the window. But anyways.
Amen to that.
Amen to that.
Amen to that.
And amen to the stream.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Amen to the stream. we hope you guys enjoyed the show. We cooked a lot of alpha today. We kind of ended it with some fun banter, talking about commodity futures, how we have a tendency to do. But if you enjoyed today's episode of Market Check, maybe you're a regular listener, maybe it's your first time, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. And a reminder that we do these shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with the same start time, which is 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, if you want to catch us again, that will be the best time to do it. And we're live throughout the week. Of course, we also have other programming as well, so make sure to tune in for Market Talk, hosted by the legendary King Wabi. That is an X Spaces hosted through the Because Bitcoin account, as well as King Wabi's personal account. So make sure to stay following and subscribed so you can be notified, not just when we schedule those streams, but also, of course, when we go live. But before I let you run, guys, we did just drop a brand new product last week. If you haven't checked it out, if you weren't aware, we have more information, not just on the Because Bitcoin X account, but also on Max's X account. The Volume Fusion Pro that Max has been working on for 8 or 9 months. It has been kicking the market's ass. And it even overnight, if you're already in the Discord, guys, we have a Discord set up for you guys to receive signals from the Volume Fusion Pro with very, very minimal legwork required from you guys. It actually gave a perfect signal last night to short something like Pepe. As well as many other coins. So if you're looking for a way to potentially kind of conquer these markets, have a better idea of when to enter, when to exit, we do have a product that can give you some of that optionality. So make sure to check that out, guys. We have more information linked, like I said, in those tweets. But yeah, we also, before you guys leave, we're going to show you a quick commercial for the BB terminal. So if you're looking for an on-chain edge, we have the ability for you to get that as well, because something that I pointed out on X last week that I think is particularly salient. After, we saw Sol ETH make its parabolic move in 2023, and then we saw Sol on-chain heat up. We've now seen Sol ETH give basically kind of like the opposite of that, right? Like a parabolic dump. And I think most of that move has completed now. So we should start to see on-chain activity shift over to ETH. If you're looking for an edge in those markets, check out the BB Degen page that we rolled out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's probably longer than that, actually. I mean, I feel like time flies just so quickly in this asset class. I lose track of it, but make sure to check that out, guys. We hope you enjoyed the stream, though. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday. I think that's when Jackson Hole is. So, all hands on deck, I guess. But until then, thanks again, guys, as always. And of course, stay safe.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal,